All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Aesop Grim, and this is the continuation of my blind playthrough of RDR2 in 2025. We are here at camp. I do have some news that I want to get to today if we have time, but let's go get things rolling with the game first. We are here to speak with Josiah Trelawney, I think his name is. I think his first name is Josiah. So, also, Arthur is in the, we're going to call this in the red. He's going to be underweight from now on. I'm sure of it, right? But he can be underweight with that word written in white, or he can be underweight with that word written in red. And right now he's red. So, bad spot for him. Okay, and I think we can have one more thing. Give him some fruit. Alrighty then. That'll have to do it. Okay, last episode we had what I would call a positive development, which is really sad to say because it's like relative. Things are so piss-poor horrible right now that what happened in the last episode is actually an improvement.
She told us she was
Hold
in
on.
love. She would have said anything. Who knows what she did or didn't do? She had to go. It's bad, but
Tilly, I do believe you got a cold heart.
now you know that ain't true.
Of course it ain't, but I'm scared.
Me too. Me too.
Wow. So the girls can sense it. They know things aren't safe and secure right now. There's Karen stalking around. She's just constantly pissed off. So the positive development is that Arthur knows absolutely his time is short, and I think he's decided what he's going to do with that. He's going to try and help anybody here get out of this mess that is going to hell in a handbasket as much as he can. So I think that's what's going on, and that's our purpose now since we're obviously playing Arthur.
So who do you think the rat is?
Rat?
Well, someone's talking to somebody. They has to be.
I reckon they just caught our scent and we can't shake them off, that's all.
I think it's Marston.
Nonsense.
Mark my words.
So that was pretty smart of Arthur, because you gotta realize, he's almost assuredly thinking it's Micah, right? That's what all the dialogue has shown. And Micah's now projecting it. Micah's using techniques to project that guilt onto Arthur. But Arthur knows this dude here, I can't think of his name. It's not John. I want to call him Bill. I think it's Bill. Arthur can't tell him he thinks it's Micah. Because Arthur realizes he's in a bad spot, and for him to say that to the wrong person, Bill maybe being one of them, is only going to make him look more guilty. The projection that Micah has employed here is extremely effective. That's why I think he's a Fed. You know, I say Fed, like Feds didn't exist back then, but I explained before, the Pinkertons are like the precursor to the FBI. I think Micah's an undercover agent. We're going to find out later. He's either an undercover agent, or in the parlance of the day, of our day, he's an asset, right? So he could be somebody who's doing it for money, but he's got the skill set and the Pinkertons have employed him. It's one, he either is a Pinkerton or he's employed by them and doing their bidding. That's what I think. Let's talk to Trelawney.
Josiah?
I was,
Leaving again?
yes, just leaving. I'll see you soon.
Perhaps.
What do you mean?
Well, if I was you, I'd disappear too. This is all pretty much over.
I'll be back.
No, you won't. Let's not pretend no more. Get out of here.
I'll miss you, Arthur. You've been a fine friend to me.
No, let's not get over sentimental. Well, the place is quiet. Get out of here. You go with my blessing.
Thank you, Arthur.
Oh, see, Arthur was playing a part there with his loud voice and then let him know quietly, you have my blessing.
Found a friend looking for you.
Mr. Morgan,
Hey,
Sir.
Chief.
how are you?
A little better.
I hope so.
How can I help you?
I'm sorry to impose on you again, but I believe I've made progress brokering peace.
You have?
I believe so. Colonel Favors has agreed to a meeting to discuss and maybe resolve his alleged grievances and mine. Now, he has lied to me more times than I care to remember, but maybe this time he must want peace. Why could he possibly want to humiliate us further?
We got words for his kind, but they're colloquial.
Perhaps I could make one last request. My men are not allowed to carry arms.
You want us to keep the peace?
Yeah, it'll be a lot of dull talking and ceremony. But I feel with some non-tribe members present, their chances of lying or worse will be reduced.
Will you, Arthur?
It ain't my business, brother.
No, I know. But it is mine. Do it for me?
Charles, I've
saved your life. Do it for
Ah,
me.
Charles really wants this one.
Sure. Come on.
See, that's a whole lot more
You owe
believable
this
to me.
man.
That seems
You
like
should
Arthur.
have him do your negotiation.
Let's go.
Arthur, that whole caring about the women and children, I don't really see that with Arthur. What he is he's extremely loyal to those that he has accepted into his inner circle. He don't give a rat's ass about anybody else. That's what I think. I happen to know the horse is dirty. Okay.
Come on now, boy.
This way. I also have some men meeting me there. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to help. Thank you for doing this, both of you. You have already done so much.
Ain't a problem. Just hope nobody recognizes me. I've had a few run-ins with the army recently.
I wish we could have done more to control the situation. Dutch should not have gotten involved.
My son has a mind of his own. Too much so, in fact. I just hope Colonel Favors can be reasoned with. I am not...
Hey, I'm really sorry to cut that dialogue in half there, but this just occurred to me, and I think it's important. I'm letting you guys know. I don't know this for sure because it's hard to self-evaluate, and you can get into the weeds on stuff. But I just said earlier that I didn't think Arthur was the type that cared very much about women and children. So that the first time we met these people and he was all incensed, it just seemed contrived and kind of forced to me. But that my sense was that Arthur cared a lot about those that he's loyal to, those inside that he's allowed inside his inner circle, and he'll run to the end of the earth for them, right? And I'm letting you know that there's every possibility. I could be misjudging this thing entirely. I could be misjudging the developers. It's really possible that what's happening here is that I'm projecting my own personality onto Arthur and how I view Arthur and what I think about Arthur from the things that I've seen reflected back in the game. It's not to tell you that I'm so diehard, like I don't give a whit about anybody. If I don't know you, you could get run over by a bus and I don't give a flip. That's not true. Remember, I've told you before that I had to come up with my own reasons for why I was going into Iraq. And my reasons were I was willing to put my life on the line and to die in order to help little girls keep from having to grow up for the next 40 years of their life not ever knowing what happened to their dad. because that stuff was going on. Now, I'm not asking you to agree with me or not. It was my own personal reason, right? But what I am illustrating to you is that those are speculative people that I've never met, that I don't know, that I don't have any loyalty whatsoever. And I was willing to put everything of my personal life on the line for them. So it can't be true that I'm constantly like, if I don't know you, I don't care about you. But I did grow up on the East Coast, and this is a little bit of a sentiment in me. It can be that way sometimes, you know. So I may be projecting my own ways of thinking in certain scenarios and situations onto Arthur here. And I wanted you guys to know I'm at least somewhat aware of that.
For very much, but when our people are sick and hungry, and we find our medicine and supplies are being deliberately withheld, how can we not view that as something personal? When they destroy our sacred sites, how can I convince Eagle Flies and the others that they shouldn't fight back?
Maybe that's part of the reason they're doing these things. Because they want you to fight. To be able to say, look, you see how these savages behave?
Perhaps. Thank you for helping Captain Monroe to retrieve those vaccines, Arthur. He will be at the meeting and is one person who knows the true situation, at least. I still have hope that we can come to an agreement.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. And this is the sad part of human history. It's happened everywhere. This is the brutal reality of the difference between the conquered and the conqueror. And it didn't have to always be like this, but it's just the nature of, you can go and look at ancient Northern Europe, not really ancient, but after the fall of Rome, tribes sitting right next to each other. One tribe got larger and stronger. It had good food. Its population grew. And then it naturally took over the next door neighbor. It's just, it's the same story everywhere. There's nobody that's evil for this. It's just kind of how it works.
Here we are. There's
You know?
my men up ahead. Hello.
Easy.
That's why I don't believe in open borders. You got to protect what's yours or you'll lose it. Somebody else will take it. I'd say that is the fundamental wrong of the liberal left. They fundamentally misunderstand the nature of mankind. Their presuppositions are wrong. So it leads them down the wrong trail. It's like a fork in the road where one path leads to the kingdom and the other path leads into the swamp and damnation and hellfire. And they chose that path because they made a wrong choice presuppositionally. All right, here we go.
Colonel Favors, Captain Monroe, we come in peace.
Hello again. Who are these two?
They're friends of my people.
Interesting looking fellows.
Yeah, they won't cause any trouble.
Well, I should hope not. Listen, Mr.
Chief.
Yes, Mr. I can't say that silly name. What is it?
In English, they call me Rainsfall.
Yes, I'm sure they do. Listen, we're all Americans here, and we want an outcome. But quite frankly, I'm confused. Your men are little more than criminals, in my opinion. Keep breaking peace treaties we've made, causing disturbances in everybody's lives. But I pride myself on being a gentleman. Really, I do. But there are limits. So, let me be very... You okay, man? Someone. Jackson, take him away. Where was I?
You're a gentleman with limits?
Are you being facetious, sir?
Come this way, buddy.
I said, are you being facetious, Captain Monroe?
No, sir, I am not.
Chief Rains.
That's, Rain's fault.
Exactly. Chief Rains, the thing
It's quite a
is,
cough.
the federal government.
Sure.
I think that I handled
Wait here.
the situation.
I'll fetch you some water.
I'll be fine. Thank you.
Man, that really is dying.
You know he's going to have Monroe court-martialed. Or attempt to. He's going to make a disgrace of him.
Monroe? Seems likable enough for a West Pointer. Why?
You know what Favors is like. Because he thinks it's right. Because he thinks Monroe is a patsy. Or a spy. He's convinced he had something to do with those vaccines getting stolen. He thinks Monroe is going to force him into making a concession with the Indians. So he removes Monroe.
Removes how?
Favors wants him tried for treason and hanged.
Wow.
Why does Favors care about the Indians?
Because he doesn't want to back down. His whole professional life. You know what they say about him. Hightail Favors. The man who missed a battle.
Poor Monroe.
Oh, wow.
Kinda liked him.
I know. Well, still, he's kind of stuck up.
You know, I wanna throw this shout out here. And I see Rockstar do this kind of routinely. The developers were smart here in that they're not painting the entire U.S. cavalry as being X, Y, or Z. And I don't think they're really painting the Indians as being X, Y, or Z. They are they're telling stories of individuals with individual motivations and individual actions. And that is just a breath of fresh air, man. We live in an era. I'm gonna try and say this quick because I don't want to be super long-winded on this. It's just, but it sparks. I'm kind of passionate about it. We live in an era where the left they're not Democrats anymore. They're not like classic liberals. I can remember watching, I don't know, what was that Kevin Costner movie about baseball, Field of Dreams, and his wife showed up at a PTA meeting, a parent-teacher conference, where the teachers were wanting to ban a certain book, and she stood up as an obvious liberal. They didn't say it outright, but she was holding classical liberal positions at the time, taking a stance against the idea of censoring books. And that's not where the left is at anymore. The left is very pro-censorship right now. Now, that's a bit of with the analogy I brought up, it's the right that wants to censor books that are in school right now. But yeah, but they're pornographic instruction manuals for 8-year-olds. If you don't want to censor that, you should be shot in the head. I'm just going to say it bluntly. You're frickin' weird, and you're a danger to society. Idiot. No way. You know, but most liberals that I've seen about crying out about don't ban books, they really don't have a clue as to how horrible these things are. We have an obscenity law in America. It's the same law that doesn't allow you to sell adult magazines with gratuitous sex on the cover right behind the counter in a grocery store, because you got kids walking around, you got families and stuff. You have to have them covered up. And they can only be sold in certain stores, right? That's because of an obscenity law. But the larger point I want to get to is that we are fully infiltrated by Marxism right now. Look at who just won the Democrat primary up in New York City for mayor. That guy's an open Marxist, an avowed card-carrying member of the Communist Party. And his dad was a communist and an academic who taught the theory, so he's very well versed in it, right? That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with liberalism anymore. We're dealing with communists. That's where the left is at. And so when you're dealing with that's a very old playbook, guys. It's over a century It's more than a century old. And so we know how it works, those of us who've studied it. And I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I know enough to know this. It always speaks in totalitarian terms. It needs an oppressor class and an oppressed class. And with our version of it, which is called cultural Marxism, the way that you know which class you or another person belongs to is by skin color. It is the most racist ideology on the planet right now, bar none. It is more racist than the things that neo-Nazis profess, because neo-Nazis can at least have some exceptions. I've seen it before. Have exceptions where they know a guy, or especially when you get into the prison system and everybody kind of works something out and you can work with each other some. But cultural Marxists, they don't see the world that way. If you're X skin color, you are evil. You are an unrepentant and unredeemable evil. Even if you try to be nice, you're still guilty. There's nothing you can do to escape your guilt. And it's because you're guilty for the sins of the past. And if you're another skin color, then no matter what you do and how heinous it is, you have a grievance and there's an excuse for it. And that's how they divide it up, and there are no exceptions. And so what Rockstar has done here is that they've avoided the pitfall of carpet, like rubber stamping. The term I've used before is rubber stamping everybody as this sort of person and everybody as of this other group as that sort of person, and instead made a story about individuals. And I wanted to explain all of that to show why it is that I'm appreciating what Rockstar developers have seemingly done here.
Treaty. That treaty is null and void. I have been appointed to negotiate.
Feeling better? Yeah. Come on. Let's go.
The lands you currently occupy belong to the United States government. Why is this so confusing, sir? Why?
Good day, Colonel Favors.
Well, that was remarkably unproductive.
So?
I'm afraid the federal government was quite clear, Colonel, that it wanted peace, and peace for all, and that the treaty had not been broken by anybody.
Oh, is that so, sir? And did it want impudence, sir?
Here
From
we
a
go.
junior officer in public? Was that its plan too, sir?
Yeah.
You insult me.
He shouldn't
You
have done
insult
that.
The regiment. Arrest this man.
Arrest me?
Gross insubordination. Disobeying an order. Treason.
Are you mad?
You had those vaccines stolen. You disrupted a negotiation.
Let him go.
This is all getting out of hand.
Hi,
Captain Monroe.
It got
let's
out of
get
hand a
here.
long time
If
ago.
I
You
were
made a
I'd keep
misstep
my
and didn't
mouth
realize
shut,
it.
Amigo. I don't want to kill this man, but shall.
bitch.
Charles, Captain Monroe, mount up now. We're getting out of here. We need to leave now.
Let him go!
I'll kill you.
Go, okay?
You won't get away with this.
Come on! Follow me!
Oh boy, that was. I don't think that's how that would go down in real life. Those guys, that's Army. They're out there shooting all the time. They know how to fire, and they weren't very far away. I think Arthur in real life gets shot right off his horse.
Yeah, but we can.
Look out! They're still coming! Hey, please hold your fire! Hold your fire!
They're just wounded. Yeah. That one was close.
Ooh. Oh, man.
More on the left. Head for the trees. We're penned in. Go. Find some cover and protect Monroe. Come on.
Come on, come on, come on. Go, go, go.
Captain. Can you shoot? I can't do it. They're trying to kill you.
Oh, darn it. So I probably should have dismounted there. I mean, you're on a horse, you're cavalry, you're supposed to flank, you know?
Come on, Captain. Can you shoot? I can't do it. They're trying to kill you. I swore it
Are they behind us? Yeah, okay. Shoot. We're at there.
What's our plan here?
Find the logs and make for the...
They're flanking us.
Just hold!
I knew this was a mistake. All over now.
Darn.
Nearly got me. They're trying to surround us. This is insanity. This was meant to be a truce. Run now.
These are the last seconds of your life, fella.
Ah, how did he miss that?
Neighbors wanted this to happen. I'll put you in the ground.
Okay, it's now or never. Let's go. Captain Monroe, you're with me. Hop on, Captain. We sure as hell don't want to hang around here. Come on, follow me. Yeah. They're still coming.
I'm gonna sabotage your eyes, asshole. That nearly hit me.
Okay, looking
I
good
think
so
we're
far.
finally in the clear. Everybody okay?
Not really. What do we do now?
You get out of here. Fast. Take you to the station.
I can't believe that just happened.
They was
I've been
gonna
an army
hang
man
you.
my whole life.
I heard them talking. They was gonna have you hanged for treason. You can't die for those fools.
And what about the chief?
We'll do what we can.
I guess I won't be submitting my report.
I wouldn't think so.
The worm turns.
Get out of here, Captain Monroe.
I fear it may be Mr. Monroe from now on.
I'm sorry about your career. Here. Here's some money. You take it and get out of here and start a new life somewhere. I hear Tahiti's nice.
Thank you.
Just hop on a train to Saint Denis, jump on a boat, but avoid Guam.
Where?
Forget about it.
Meet you back at camp.
Mr. Morgan! Are you okay?
Well,
Hello, sister.
never better. What are you doing here?
Well, I'm on my way down to Mexico. They're finally sending me on a mission. Brother Dorkins is very jealous. What's wrong?
I'm dying, sister.
Okay.
Yeah, I got TB. I got it. Beating a man to death for a few bucks. I've lived a bad life, sister.
We've all lived bad lives, Mr. Morgan. We all sin. But I know you.
You don't know me.
Forgive me, but that's the problem. You don't know you.
What do you mean?
I don't know, but whenever we happen to meet, you're always helping people and smiling.
I had a son. He passed away.
Oh, snap.
I had a girl who loved me. I threw that away. My mama died when I was a kid. And my daddy... Well, I watched him die. And it weren't soon enough.
My husband died a long time ago. Life is full of pain. But there is also love and beauty.
What am I gonna do now?
Be grateful that for the first time, you see your life clearly.
Sure.
Perhaps you could help somebody. Helping makes you really happy.
But I still don't believe in nothing.
Often, neither do I. But then I meet someone like you, and everything makes sense.
You're too smart for me, sister. I guess I'm afraid.
There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan. Take a gamble that love exists and do a loving act.
All aboard?
Oh, that was a really strong statement in that moment for Arthur.
Shall try.
That was good advice.
I know you will. Goodbye, goodbye, Mr. Morgan. Goodbye.
Sister?
Heck of a mission right there. That was really good. All right, what are we going to do now? Let's check and see if we have any finds. It looks like we do in this area.
Always nice to see a returning face. I'm glad you're doing the right thing. Maybe you stop and think about your actions next time.
Thanks.
I flirted with the idea of pulling my pistol and doming this dude right in the forehead.
You all right?
Just for being stupid. Like, you're gonna talk to somebody you don't know like that? You know? Picked the wrong day and time, amigo. But then I realized that's psychopathic. So I decided not to. All right, Blackwater. So we're good now. See, we're not doing this quest down here. I guess we're going to Sadie. And we're at 33 minutes. We'll make our way down that way and do some hunting along the way because, well, you know what? We need herbs. I think I've got meat. I need herbs. So we're going to go hunt for herbs now. We're going to do Sadie on the next mission. I just don't want to risk being halfway through the episode and getting into a mission that takes us to an hour and a half. So, we'll go here to this river right here. Okay. Let's also eat a little bit. We don't have to eat a lot, I don't think. Apricots. Raspberry, sure. We're gonna bed down for the night. Have some biscuits. A little bit of Kentucky bourbon, sure. And add biscuits. Let's have some peaches. Clear that one out. Alrighty then, boy. Let's get you fed a little bit.
Here you are, boy.
And let's brush them.
Hey, come on, boy. Relax.
And then we'll just ride up over this hill. This dude here's watching sheep. And set camp. Alright, so here's the news that I heard that I'm really excited about today. The Supreme Court, I guess yesterday, decided in a 6-3 vote, I think it was, to affirm that President Trump has the right to deport criminal illegal immigrants. Now, it could just be, I think actually it's just illegal immigrants, period. Like, how do we parse that out? I know there are the left disagrees with this. I don't really understand how you're violating definitions by disagreeing with it. When you cross that border without going through the right process, you have committed a criminal act. You're a criminal. But what we're talking about mostly here is violent criminals. And we have a number of them that we've been trying to get out of the country. These guys are guilty of some big things. Think of this Abrego Garcia guy. Human trafficking, that's who you're going to jump to the defense of? You're disgusting. What's wrong with how you're wired wrong?
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust you further than I can see you. That's one of the grossest positions I've ever heard. But all of these activist judges are issuing nationwide injunctions on it seems like any opportunity that they can. It's so bad in the DC area that the Trump DOJ just now sued the entirety of the DC federal judges. So that's going to go to court, accusing them of activism judgments, not judgments based in law, but judgments based on whether or not they agree or disagree with a policy. Well, America voted for that policy. Get over it. And they don't want to. I hold the gavel. Therefore, I get to act outside the law. No, you don't. No, you did for a little bit, but man, that game's winding down in a hurry. And I tell you what, man, my position is we should put these judges before a board of inquiry of their own, of people who are in law, to determine whether they should be stripped of their right to, of their ability to carry out in the career field of the law.
Yeah. Morning.
And see if they should be stripped of their robes. And maybe some of them, in certain cases, even do jail time. That would be my position. When you're defending pedophiles and human traffickers, I got questions. I want your hard drive searched. You know? But the Supreme Court said that you can deport illegals, and from the way I understand it, maybe I'm not right here, but you don't have to honor any of their appeals. They're gone. Now, to me, this makes sense, right? But I'm not a constitutional scholar. To me, this makes sense because, you say, well, what about due process? Well, who's due process for? Is that a human right? Would you, the liberal that's screaming bloody murder about due process, move to China or Japan or country in Africa or South America and then scream bloody murder at them to honor and respect due process? I mean, I hope you wouldn't. Not if you have any kind of respect whatsoever for their right to choose their own policies and how they govern their country and what how their culture works and what they decide their justice system looks like. You don't go over there and tell them, well, this is how we do it in America and you should too. The hell's wrong with you? It's a little presumptuous, right? Aren't you being the ugly American then? That you and some of your elders have screamed about for decades? Of course you don't do that, because due process is not a human right. It's not universal. It's specific to a certain kind of governmental system and how they view justice. And it's applicable to the social contract made with its citizens. These people are not citizens. And in our case, a great many of them, if not all, at this point in time at least, are convicted criminals that have been sitting in prison, in American prisons, when they don't belong in this country. And the other thing that the Supreme Court said is that you can deport them wherever you want to.
Out of the way!
They're not saying necessarily that they agree or believe in this or that they would do it. They're saying that the law says the executive branch has this authority. And so he doesn't have, in plain language, this is what the Supreme Court said. They told Trump, ignore the lower courts. Ignore those rulings. They have no legal merit whatsoever. And you can deport these people without the right to appeal, and you can deport them to whatever nation will accept them. And so what happened here is that we brought Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador. I would have left him right there in Secot. That's like the best prison outside of flipping Guantanamo Bay or places that we don't know about that Black Ops money takes care of. Right? That's the best mainstream, publicly known place on Earth to send somebody right now. Or maybe I should say in our hemisphere. I'm not sure if it's China. Might be a lot worse. Okay, let's start looking for herbs. So I would have left them there. But due to one reason or another, and maybe it was political pressure, because the left raised hell over this. And judges got involved and screamed bloody murder about this, that, and the other and bring them back. And Boasberg tried to have that plane turned around in flight. It was crazy. That was nuts. But we brought him back, and we held him trial. We asked El Salvador. We showed them, we've got proof that this guy's guilty of human trafficking and a number of other very, what I would call high crime things. I just don't remember exactly what they were. But it's not just human trafficking that he was guilty of. And we asked them, would you allow us to extradite him here to put him under trial? And they agreed. So we brought him back to the United States. Well, lo and behold, the judge that catches his case, somehow, some way, it's magic, right? All these judges are very, very friendly to these child pornographers, these pedophiles, these human traffickers, these gangbangers, these murderers, thieves, right? I'm not trying to say that everybody who's crossed that border and come here illegally is that. Don't get it twisted. I'm not somebody that's sitting there being like, yo, if you're brown as skin, this is what I think. If your skin is brown, this is what I think of you. I think you're a dirtball, scumbag, savage, and you're all murderers and thieves. I'm not saying that's not what I think whatsoever, not even remotely close. So you can go F yourself if that's what you're thinking, right? That's how I would put it. I don't care. Get angry. You throw every slur in the book at me. I know who I am and I know what I've done. And chances are really strong that I've done a whole hell of a lot more and risked a lot more for the things that you would accuse me of than you have. I don't need to hear it from the holier-than-thou, pearl-clutching crowd on the left, right? But somehow, some sympathetic lefty judge who always seems to have a heart for these people who are dirtbags, who are garbage human beings, and have demonstrated so and been convicted and found guilty through a trial system that was far more fair to them than they deserved because they're not a citizen. Keep catching these cases, and in this case, this judge was gonna let him go. Pending trial. In other words, he wouldn't have to stay in jail. I don't even know if he had to post bail. He was just released, or was going to be released under his own cognizance. So when the Supreme Court weighed in on this is glorious, man. This made my day. When the Supreme Court weighed in on this, the Trump administration immediately got in touch with this judge and told him, go ahead and release him. Go ahead and release him. As soon as you do, we'll be waiting for him, and we'll send him to a third world nation that is not where he's from. We're talking places like Sudan. Hey, Abrego, learn to speak Sudanese, and you better figure out how things work over there real fast and rub elbows with the warlord, because you could get killed in a split second, man. New York second. Blink of an eye. That's a different environment, hombre. And so it's put this judge in a terrible spot, given his own worldview. It shouldn't be a terrible spot, but the judge is a confused lefty. Right? So, that's just fantastic. This is what I was looking for. I'm super excited about that. I really that's like poetic justice. That turned out exactly how I would want it to turn out. So we'll see what this judge does. But everybody knows about it now, and they're like, yeah, Abrego Garcia, Sudan. It's I hear it's nice this time of year. And in the dissent against the Supreme Court, the three lefty judges, Kagan, Sotomayor, and what's her name, guys? KBJ? Brown Jackson, I think. I'm just going to call her Jackson, because I can't remember for sure if it's Brown Jackson or not. The whole reasoning, the three of them agreed. The whole reasoning that they dissented was that, oh my gosh, you could send this person and to some place that's incredibly lethally dangerous. You're shedding crocodile tears for this dude, and this is what I think. If I'm to put myself in their shoes, look, Elena Kagan is not someone I think is insane. I don't agree with her on a whole slew of things, but I think that she's a smart woman. I just think she has a twisted worldview, and so I believe that what she would tell you is that it's not the individual she's talking about. Maybe she even thinks, look, Abrego Garcia is a terrible human being. He's guilty on all counts, but it sets a precedent. And I'm sitting here saying, okay, well, you're really not going to like this. Precedent accepted. You enter into this country illegally, you roll them bones. That's on you. That's your fault. You made a choice. And now when we catch you, we're going to make a choice. We're going to put together a wheel of fortune that has a whole bunch of really terrible nations that you could got in real fast. And we're going to spin it and find out what you won. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's exactly how I feel about it, and I'm unapologetically stout in that position. So I was real excited to see that little development. And here's the other thing that it kind of reminded me of, too. I think this is important, in my opinion. When I think about World War II, for example, how many of those guys are sitting there on the front lines trying to crack Fortress Europe, having blood and guts fights with Nazi Germany, an exceptionally well-trained military force. The Germans were doggone good at what they did, man. That's what made them such a classic evil. is that they were a real threat. They weren't dirtbags. They weren't incompetents. They weren't. They were psychopathic, but they were smart. You know, and they were a threat. So when you're sitting there just locked in tooth and claw combat every day, and the lines are shifting. Imagine in your day-to-day, some days you're winning, some days you're losing, and sometimes it's going to look like, holy smokes, everything is breaking against us. Look at the 101st and the 82nd when they dropped over. That they had a plan in place and none of it went according to plan. It was a disaster, but they were able to come together and make it work. And think of the mentality that you had to have, because see, when you get into situations where nobody's got a crystal ball and you've got what we call, we can inspect this site. What we call a fog of war. You got two kinds of people. You got people who see everything that's going wrong, and that's all they see. And it's hard for them to see anything going well. They just focus on the negative. And then you have people who, I kind of hate this phrase because QAnon uses it, but they trust the plan. They have committed themselves. They're, you know, come hell or high water, I'm going to fight these people. And I'm going to trust that my commanders have things in place and that we're moving forward. Right now, I'm on the front lines in Spain or France. I don't need to be sitting here worrying about what's going on in Italy. Those squadrons or battalions need to worry about that. I need to worry about what's right in front of me and whether I feel like we're winning or whether I feel like we're losing. I'm show up every single day and I'm going to fight. And so look at what situation we're in. We're not in a classic war. That doesn't happen anymore. You know, we're in, like, I think it's called 5th generation warfare. War changes all the time. It's innovating all the time. And what we're in right now, at least right now at the moment, and have been locked in for a few years, is informational war. And you got to look at it like that. The political rhetoric, the narratives, those are your bullets and your bombs. And they'll kill people just as much when it comes to which side is going to win, because they can beat you down and make you feel like you're ideologically, it's all pointless. Nothing's ever going to break our way. No matter what we do or how blatant it is, it's just lose, 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 lose. And that, I'm telling you, is like a chief tactic of Marxists. They are not what I call guerrillas. They are not the type to fight you face to face in a phone booth, a blood and guts war. Their preferred style and what they get off on, the kind of personalities that it attracts, are people who are very clever. They're what I call spiders. And they want to sow traps so that you defeat yourself. You shoot yourself in the foot. Find more stuff. That's what they love to do. They're actually bad whenever they're faced with brute force. And politically speaking, that's kind of what Trump is. He just comes in there and bangs heads. He cracks skulls. Look at how he handled that LA situation. They tried to frame that narrative, and he said, I don't care. I'm taking over your National Guard. And they're like, you can't do that. And they came out, they screamed bloody murder. They tried to shape the narrative. They threw a lot of rhetoric out there, and he was like, whatever. That's brute force, right? That's the bull in the china closet. There's not a lot of nuance to that. It's not diplomatically suave. It's a claymore coming down and cleaving you in half. So that's what they're up against. This is like a rock, paper, scissors thing. This is why I like Trump so much. He is exactly the type of personality that they do horribly against. This is the worst matchup that they could ask for. And so you've got for these past few months, the news trying to shape a narrative every way that they can to do what? To demoralize you, to beat you down, to not give Trump any credit whatsoever. I don't know that they think of it in tactical terms like a Marxist would, where it's like, okay, we need to keep the opposition demoralized. I think the news are just a bunch of shills trying to protect their insider access. For the most part, a few of them maybe know exactly what they're doing. But most of them, I think they're just taking their marching orders and running with it. And I think all of them have TDS. And so what you have then is if you will go and get a hold of the conference, and there's a video. Remember, I keep recommending to you guys Steve Turley over on Rumble. He has a video up on it. But if you can find the conference where Pete Hegseth just browbeats the heck out of the White House core, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. He tells them that they are exceptionally irresponsible in their reporting, and that they took a preliminary report from a low-level intel official who illegally leaked information that turned out to be wrong. It was a preliminary report. But because it gave confirmation bias to what they truly want to be true, because they have TDS, they ran with it. And it was the same woman, Margaret Brennan, I think her name is, the same woman who gave us what? The 51 intel officials saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. You realize the filth that's on the Hunter Biden laptop? You people protected a pedophile. You're gross. You're gross. And you believed her. You know, you lefties, any lefty that's coming across this, that bought into that swill. That's who she is. That's been completely discredited. It's one of the worst lies of the past couple of years. The biggest, farthest reaching, most blatantly exchanging sweet for sour and calling evil good. And that chick came out and said, instead of writing about the bravery and the extreme complexity involved in what is one of the most dominant military operations that we've carried out in decades, it was a clean sweep. It was amazing. And instead of talking about any of that and giving the American people some insight, this is what Pete Hegseth was saying, some insight into how awesome our military men and how brave they were, how competent, how well they executed this mission. You had to run with the TDS. Well, we're getting reports that it didn't actually do as much as what it's being purported to, and that it was really a failure, which turned out being wrong, right? So that's the environment we're in. We are constantly being told of all the ways that things aren't working. And again, I don't think the news media knows what they're doing, but the deep state that controls them does. And they tell them what to put out there. They're the ones running the game, right? So we are constantly being shown, look at this. You tried to kick these people out, this murderer, and we brought them right back. You can't do anything. Be sad, be mad, because you can't do a single thing about it. It's all supposed to remind you of who you are, a serf, and who they are, the aristocracy. Know your place and shut up, or we'll shove your face in the mud and keep it there. That's what they do. And that's, whether you're really kind of aware of it all the time or not, that's the environment that you're totally saturated in. One of constant attempts to demoralize you. And you're never going to hear the good things. You hear all of the bad things, and you get all of the illustrations trying to convince. Sometimes it's not even bad things, it's made up. Right? A lot of this stuff is just rhetoric. A lot of it. Just rhetoric, just spin. But designed to browbeat you into submission and into giving up and collapsing and imploding and just folding your hands and going off into the mountains and trying to live your own life and just survive and get away from it all and disappear between the cracks. I'm telling you, that is how they operate. That's what their goal is. And instead, what's happening is that they're getting their teeth kicked down their throat. This administration is annihilating the infrastructure and institutions of the deep state. We're purging things. We're changing things in the background. The Trump administration has for all of the news that you get that's supposed to frustrate you and piss you off about how a local federal judge at the lower court level has stood up and issued a nationwide injunction on ex-Trump policy. A lot of those things, the Trump administration is just ignoring it, saying, yeah, we're going to keep doing this until it gets to the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court tells us no, then it'll be considered law. And why shouldn't they? Because that is exactly how Blue has been doing it for 70 frickin' years. Don't talk to me about above the law. You guys got the entire starter kit over there. And so we're winning in big ways, and a lot of things we don't even hear about. I'm telling you, this is just me speculating, but this is my gut instinct. A lot of things we don't hear about it because the nature of changing how DC operates from the inside out, sometimes you don't really necessarily want to televise that and broadcast it and get the left all stirred up. You'd rather just have them focused on some nonsense, get them stirred up and riled up about something inconsequential and keep them busy over there, busy little bees, because they panic real easy, right? Even the left will tell you that. While you're working on dismantling their power structures over here. So there's plenty of stuff that we're not even going to hear about. And then there's a lot of stuff that we would normally hear about, but the media shades it. That's why the that X account by the White House, the rapid response account, that's important. That was a genius move by the Trump administration. A rapid response X account to counter the BS social media influence that I think is being propagated by the CCP. I'm not somebody who wants to go into China and violently overthrow them and burn down the CCP and all this. I think they can do that themselves. Their responsibility, right? But I do think that they have, for a long time, waged what's called unrestricted warfare against us, meaning that they attacked our civilian population. And I've read a number of things about how they've infiltrated our education systems. That's why a lot of these kids are coming out so indoctrinated. All of my red flags went up whenever I first heard the term influencer. That was new. And I'm telling you, if you're a Zoomer, you have no way of knowing this, because for you, it's just the parlance of the day. But that word was not part of the English, the American lexicon. Influencer. That sounds distinctly Marxist. A social influencer. Anything dealing with socially steering stuff is false. We believe in truth over here. If you're socially steering, you're manipulating. And that's definitely of an authoritarian nature. But now it's part of our lexicon. And then where are we at? Oh, an hour 4. We got to wrap this up. And the other thing that came to mind, Obama started this, and the Trump administration has continued to run with it. But that word czar, a border czar, that's a Russian word. That's not something that we normally would use. This stuff is all foreign. And so China's been spending huge amounts of money to indoctrinate and cultivate anti-American sentiment in this nation. And they've done it through a variety of ways. And they break people down to make you more easily manipulative. I don't know how to say that word. I'm wanting to say manipulatable, right? To make it easier to manipulate you. And so they've introduced a whole array of things socially that they don't allow in their own country. They won't allow it because they know that it weakens the society. And so we have a lot of those operations going on here that we gotta deal with, you know. But boy, it is sure a great time to be alive. And it's like, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding whenever I tell you I sincerely believe that we are kicking their teeth down their throat. We're not just winning, we're obliterating them. And if not for them still holding sway over the news media, and it's not even, that's at this point in time, the indoctrination is so rich and generations have been born into it that it's just kind of how these people think now. Look at the rainbow. That's a real rainbow right there. It has a very significant meaning that's a whole lot more important than what people use it for these days. A lot deeper, applies to a lot more people. One of the most phenomenal signs in the world. Look, it's a double rainbow. Holy smokes. Wow. All right, guys. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up right there. I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about. I'm super stoked. A lot of good things going on. It's always going to look like hell on earth because the opponent that we're beating is in a death rattle and scratching for their life. And the best phrase I've ever heard is that the flak is thickest when you're over the target. So just hang in there. Another analogy I would give you is if you think about an MMA fight and you've got a guy in a chokehold, he can't get out of it. You've got it deep. Well, he's going to try and throw an elbow and he might connect. Man, that could unhinge your jaw. Yeah. It could crack your teeth out your skull. An elbow can do a lot. But if you can sit through the pain and maintain your hold, your victory is absolutely assured. The fight's over. It's just a matter of time, and you got to be able to sustain. So I think that's where we're at. So we'll wrap it up right there, guys. Again, I'm Aesop Grimm. Let's check our status. Okay, good. Not red anymore. You guys saw that? Underweight, but it's in white letters. Right here, fit, clean, and calm. All right. Again, I'm Aesop Grimm. Thank you for coming by the channel. I hope you like what you saw. More importantly, I hope all is well in your neck of the woods. And I'll see you in the next episode where this story continues.